representative.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the University of Toronto webinar. And I would like to turn the meeting over to Jaime Sanchez. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to our last webinar in a six-part series that we've called the First Nations Carbon and Emissions Trading webinar. Today's topic is Voices from the Field, First Nations Carbon Projects. So this webinar series has been organized by the First Nations Carbon Collaborative. I've been working with the Carrier-Sakani Tribal Council located in North Central BC on this project, along with some other organizations, the International Institute for Sustainable Development, the Center for Indigenous Environmental Resources, both based out of Winnipeg, and several First Nations, including the Carrier-Sakani Tribal Council, Poplar River First Nations in Manitoba, and the Kalicho government in Northwest Territories. So the purpose of the webinar series is about learning and sharing information regarding carbon and emissions trading and how it impacts Aboriginal community. Some of the things that we had developed this year through our project include this webinar series and two documents, one being a Indigenous case studies report that looked at various First Nations and Indigenous carbon projects in North America, the U.S., Mexico, Australia, and New Zealand. These documents are available online on our websites, on our respective websites. The other document that was developed was an annotated bibliography regarding Indigenous peoples and the carbon markets. We'd like to thank our funders and supporters for this webinar series, including Indian and Northern Affairs, the BC Capacity Initiative Program, the New Relationship Trust Fund, the BC First Nations Energy and Mining Council, and the University of Toronto Center for Environment, who has provided some assistance in organizing some of the speakers today, or for the series, as well as the coordinating the technology and using this webinar, WebEx technology. Again, today's webinar, the agenda is on the Carrier-Sakani website. The speakers we have scheduled are Brad Young from the National Aboriginal Forestry Association, NAFA, Brian Kummet from the Nez Perce Tribe, and Neil Hughes from Ecotrust Canada. So before I pass it off to Brad, I'll read his bio here. So Brad is a Cree from the north end of Saskatchewan River in present-day northern Manitoba. He graduated from programs at the University of British Columbia, University of Alberta, and the University of Victoria, where he holds a master's degree in Indigenous governance. Partially finished with a doctorate, he has successfully supervised one master's student to completion and has traveled and studied internationally, exploring Indigenous rights and development. As a professional, he has led Aboriginal natural resource development initiatives in the Northern Rockies and has spoken extensively on Indigenous rights, culture, consultation, development, and nation building. So I'll pass it over now to Brad Young.
Okay, thank you for that, Jamie. And I would like to introduce myself here and see if we can get a little bit of video. So welcome to the group who is assembled here in the ether of the World Wide Web. My name is Bradley Young, and I'm the Senior Policy Advisor for the National Aboriginal Forestry Association. Hello, how? So today I've been asked to kind of give an overview on the national trends in terms of voices in the field. And we spoke once before for the Carbon Collaborative on request, and are happy to do so again today. So without further ado, I will just jump right into the presentation. So from our perspective on the national venue, carbon, energy, and sequestration are inseparable. And we view that There's some carbon market directions that the forest is going to be central in this carbon market. There's some specific emerging examples that have some, I guess, teachings around significant scale and I guess specifics in terms of engagement with carbon. And then there, of course, are some emergent opportunities and issues within. And if we take a look at energy, carbon, and sequestration, the linkage is direct. The world's energy usage is going to increase by over 35% from now until the year 2025, 2030. So what this means is that the carbon load going into the atmosphere every year will increase. Carbon has a link to climate change. This is a scientific fact, and the empirical evidence is continuing to build for the case of doing something. And in terms of doing something, as of now, there are only two proven and scalable carbon sequestration methods that can meet the challenge of sequestering this vast amount of carbon that we are emitting into the atmosphere. And they're actually natural processes. So the first is the carbon sink of the oceans, meaning the ocean takes in carbon and converts it into carbolic acid, and the oceans grow in acidity. This is one of the major methods for sequestering carbon right now. In terms of First Nations, we live in the forests, and in terms of the world's carbon emission sequestration project, it will be the forests that will do the bulk of this work. And really, in reality, this is photosynthesis. And these two methods are global, they're natural processes, they're ecological services, and this is where if we're going to tackle this linkage between energy usage, carbon emissions, and sequestration, these are going to be the two main battlegrounds. What this means, of course, is that there's a market and a regulatory environment that is emerging. And in the short term, although there's been numerous speakers and there's numerous commentary out in the discourse right now that say, you know, things aren't even, things aren't starting, they're not starting, there's going to be a market here, there's going to be regulations there. The trend is undeniable that regulation and markets are coming. So within the next 5 to 10 years, we'll have this, I guess, developmental phase will solidify, and you will see a midterm market, I would say after 10 years, and between 10 to 20 years from now, a midterm market where the regulatory environment is agreed upon, where there's sufficient guidelines for the different carbon sequestration methods, and you get carbon sequestration and market development happening on a global scale. In the long term, what I think we'll find is we'll find a maturation of this issue, and also in about 30 years, the first carbon sequestration projects that are being initiated now out of Kyoto and the different regulatory exchanges will be retired, and you'll get a new, we'll get a new, I guess, class of carbon sequestration projects and a new kind of carbon market somewhere between 30 years from now. In general, in terms of the carbon market and climate change and the regulatory environment, I think with human beings, it should be said that there's a general correlation between crises and regulatory movement, meaning that there's usually have to be several crises before regulations, before markets, before these things solidify. And if we take a look at the news today, and some of the really tragic examples of climate change and climate events happening over this last little while here in terms of tornadoes, in terms of floods, in terms of torrential rains, in terms of fires in different parts of the world, you can't really say that those are evidence of climate change. But what you can say over a period of, say, 10 years, then you